What is up, everyone? My name is Michael Pohl with Bay Area Aquatics, and today we're going to be talking about how I built the over pond filter for my 55-gallon patio pond. That's a mouthful, isn't it? Alright, so if you've been following along the series, we've been building this 55-gallon patio pond that's right behind me, pretty much on a budget. One of the things that I wanted to do is I wanted to filter the pond, and I wasn't quite sure how I wanted to, but I wanted to make sure it was kind of contained, all in the same spot, and I didn't really want to run an air pump with a sponge filter. I kind of wanted it to be all in the thing. I didn't want to have to worry about a whole extra system. So what I decided to do is go overhead sump style, kind of, is basically what the equivalent of it is. And so basically it's a 5-gallon HDX heavy duty tote from Home Depot. They're like $5 on the shelf. We talked about it in my very first video where I went over the budget of it. I'm going to link that video down below. The other things that I used for is a 400-gallon per hour pond pump. I'm going to link that below too as well. I got it off of Amazon. The ones at Home Depot are basically the same thing, but they're like 3 times the price. They're like 50, 60 bucks for the same filter. So I went off of Amazon. Everything else I got at Home Depot. The other things I used in it was lava rock for the filter media. You could use plastic pot scrubbies. You could use actual filter media, whatever you want. I used lava rock. Again, it's at Home Depot. It's cheap, and actually fair, full transparency, I had a bag of it on my side yard, so I just used it since I already had it. But yeah. The other things that I used were some PVC pipe, the end cap, a barb connector, and some vinyl tubing to connect the pump to the spray bar. So if you're following along and you're building one yourself, the first thing you're going to want to do is start with that 5-gallon tote. Now mine is a waterfall overflow. Most people are going to opt for that. I think that's kind of the best way, and I like the sound of it. What you're going to want to do is you're going to want to start with either a hole saw, or if you don't have a hole saw, they're only like $10 at Walmart if you want to go buy one. That'll be the cleanest cut. That's going to give you a perfect circle. You're going to be able to go with a drill and actually sit there and drill right next to it and kind of drill out a perfect circle for it, and then you can take a file and file it down and make it all nice and smooth. I'd recommend a hole saw if you can get a hold of one. You're going to need a 1 3/4. If you use the 1 3/4 ABS plastic pieces right here, the male and female, that's what I used. That's about the size I wanted, and I think it looks pretty good. So what you're going to do is you're going to take that hole saw and you're going to tape it out, and tape with like painter's tape or whatever works, duct tape even, on the bin. Remember that you've got, maybe a 1/4 inch or so of that pipe. So you don't want to drill all the way at the very bottom right where the lip is, because then your pipe's not going to fit. You're not going to be able to put it in. So you want it to be, about a 1/4 inch or so up. It's pretty easy to do. It's not too hard. And then tape it out, draw your circle, find your center point, and then go ahead and drill into the bin. It doesn't have to be perfect. It's kind of just an overflow. It's nothing crazy. Now for me, with the 1 3/4, it wasn't quite big enough for it to just kind of thread on there. So I took a half round, totally blanked on what that's called, a half round sander, and I just sat there and sanded away at it bit by bit until it fit perfectly. And so I tried it a couple times and finally got it to the point where it fit. Then you're gonna go ahead and take your male piece on the inside of it, facing out. Make sure you put your 44mm O-ring, which you're going to need to pick up an O-ring from Home Depot, or 2 of them actually, 44mm O-rings. The complete list will be down in the description below on my website. 2 44mm O-rings. You're going to put one of them on the inside there, and then you're going to put one on the outside and screw the female piece, which is the piece that you can actually see on mine, on the outside, and that's going to give you your waterfall. Mine leaks just very, very slightly. I don't know if I think I nicked it a little bit at the bottom, a little too far with the sander. Doesn't really matter too much because it's sitting over the pond. I just didn't want a constant stream, which is why I had the O-rings there. The next thing I made was the spray bar for the top part of the filter. I made this out of PVC and then the pond pump and the vinyl. So I bought my PVC in, I think I bought like a 4-foot section or a 3-foot section. You can have Home Depot cut it. They sell it by like 10 feet. It's about the same price as buying just a short one, but I just didn't want to trip over it. So I bought the short one. Not a big deal. I don't use PVC very often. So I bought 3/4 inch PVC. And you can actually have Home Depot cut it to size. For me, if you're following this exact build, you want it 14.5 inches long. That's the size piece you're gonna need. So if you're following this build and you want Home Depot to cut it, they will do it for free. Just buy the PVC and they'll go ahead and cut it to whatever size you need, 14.5 inches. I wasn't quite sure how long I needed it, and so I brought mine home. I cut mine with a jigsaw. It doesn't need to be the perfect. I have a PVC cutter somewhere, couldn't find it, so I just went ahead and cut it with a jigsaw. Next thing you're gonna do is you're gonna take your end cap and your threaded piece, or threaded adapter I think is what it's called, and your PVC pipe and your PVC cement. You're gonna need a thing of PVC cement. It runs about $5. Make sure you buy the kind for potable water. There's one that's not safe for potable water. I forget what it's called, but they're about the same price. Get the one that's safe for potable water. If you're not sure, read the back or ask someone. They'll make sure that it's good for you. You're gonna go ahead, you're gonna use barely any of it. You're just gonna line the inside, follow the directions, put the end cap on one piece, put the threaded adapter on the other, let it sit for about 15 minutes is what it says for handling strength. You're not supposed to pressurize it for I think 4 or 5 hours. This pond isn't gonna be super pressurized. It's only 400 gallons per hour. So what I did was I went and had lunch, about 30 minutes or so, and then I came back out and started running water through it. It's working just fine, no leaks, nothing like that. So you should be okay after about 15 minutes, but if you're that concerned about it, take a break, go do whatever, or do that first and then you can work on the bin or something else, whatever you want. But keep in mind, you do need to have a waiting period. Don't just go ahead and start putting water on it. End cap will fall off. At this point, like I said, I thread on my barb adapter. I got a 90-degree one from Home Depot. They're like 98 cents. I'm gonna link it down below. Like I said, everything's gonna be in the write-up, so if you're curious on what exactly it is, you can go straight to the exact part I used. They make these in brass as well. They're $5 or $6. I just got the plastic one. I don't think it's gonna be that big of a breaking point. And if it does break, again, it's only $1 versus the brass one's $4 or $5. You're gonna wanna drill this on first, or screw this on first, because you're not gonna be quite sure where that tight stopping point is, and you wanna be able to drill your holes wherever that is, because you want that to be tight so it doesn't leak, but you wanna make sure that your holes are lined up. So I screwed that on first. Once I had that screwed on, I measured out where I wanted my holes. I started out with 1/8" holes on my drill, and I put 8 holes on each side, so 16 total. In the end, I ended up with 16 holes plus 3 that are straight down, and I did the 8 holes kind of at an angle so it falls out a little bit. Not quite a 45-degree angle, probably more of like a 20-degree angle on each side. For my holes, I started, like I said, with 1/8 of an inch. I ended up working my way up. I tried just various sizes until I got the flow that I wanted. I ended up at 13/64 of an inch was the drill bit that I finally used, that I go, you know what, that's what I actually like. I could probably have gone a little bit bigger, but I don't mind that size. The filter was flowing just where I wanted it. The smaller holes, it was just too strong, and it was sticking kind of straight out, and I wanted it to kind of drop. I didn't want it to be like a straight stream. At this point, you're gonna cut your vinyl tubing and let it fit. You can leave it really long, you can leave it really short. It's kind of up to you. I cut mine so that I had an extra 2 or 3 inches in case I needed to lift something out of the way and not have to pull everything completely out, or if I needed to move the pond around, or the pond pump on the inside around, I had a little bit of extra. The more extra you have, the more it's gonna kind of push your spray bar out of the way. I zip tied my spray bar down. I wasn't planning on it. I didn't want to. You could get some U-hooks or something like that to make it a little more permanent. I decided to just use zip ties. That way, if I ever need to move it, I can just cut the zip ties, move it out of the way, and then replace them. Zip ties are cheap, and I always have zip ties. Next thing you're gonna do is fill the filter with filter media. Like I said, I used lava rock. I also ended up putting a polishing pad in mine just to kind of, since it's the first time I filled up the pond, I wanted to kind of clear the water out. I did sit there and let the pump out of the pond while my hose was going into it to kind of clean the rocks and get most of the dirt out. But there's some fine particles that I kind of wanted to just start off with a clean pond. You can buy this stuff by like 6-foot rolls. I'll leave the link down below, and you can constantly run it, or you can just run it every once in a while. I don't think I'm gonna run mine all the time, but for right now, it's in the pump. The pump I used also has a sponge pre-filter, so it actually will filter a little bit of the particles out. So you don't necessarily need the fine filter, the sponge will handle it, but just keep that in mind, it is an option. Now I let it run for a couple hours, and then I came back outside and noticed that I was actually getting a little bit of backsplash off of the rocks and the filter thing, and it was kind of doing all these little tiny bubbles on the side. I didn't think it was that big of a deal, but over time I could see how that would possibly be an issue if I'm losing that much water. Again, I don't think it'll be that big of a deal, but in the summertime, you know, every little bit helps with evaporation. So what I ended up doing was I took that yellow lid that it came with and I cut it. I cut one side, I think it was 4.5 inches, the other side was 4 inches because my tube's not perfectly centered, but I don't recommend cutting it the way I did. I didn't film it because I was throwing plastic shards all over the place. I took a circular saw and just cut it. I measured it and cut it. Again, don't recommend it. It shoots shards everywhere, but as long as you're wearing safety glasses, it's not that big of a deal. Keep your mouth closed, and you should be fine. You could also cut it with some like tin snips or something like that, a box cutter. It's just gonna take a little longer. Again, this isn't needed. You could also use something else. You could use saran wrap, you could put some 2x4s there, whatever you want. I just figured the plastic lid kind of sits down inside of it. If any water gets on top of the lid, it kind of threads it so it falls back out, back into the filter. And I already had it. It didn't cost me anything extra, and you know, it just fits, it works, and that prevented all the backsplash from actually like bouncing out of the filter. So yeah, like I said, that's pretty much how I built my pond filter. Hopefully soon we'll be getting some actual fish for it. I'm having trouble locating white cloud mountain minnows is what I think I'm gonna go with. If I can't get a hold of them, if I can't find them, I don't really want to order them online because they are kind of expensive, but I have a couple other options that someone pointed out that I actually kind of like, so I'm not sure yet. I'm not sure what it is, but that's kind of my first pick is long fin white cloud mountain minnows. I'll settle for the regular ones. The long fins are my favorite, but yeah. So let me know how you like the filter in the comments down below. If you're gonna try and build one of these, let me know. I know a bunch of people have been asking me for plans. I'm gonna try and put them out. Hopefully this next video that I put out, or the video after that, I'll have this 100% done. I still don't have the decorative siding on the side. I should be getting that tonight. Once I get everything 100% done, I'm gonna put out a whole how-to with all the cuts, all the filter, obviously this video is the filter, but all the wood pieces you need, exactly what you need to go buy, exactly where you need to be cutting, or have Home Depot cut it for you, all the lengths and everything. So you should be pretty much good to go. I know people are asking, it's coming, I promise, I'm sorry, I'm working on it. So if you liked the video, like I said, be sure to give it a thumbs up. If you don't like the video, you know what to do. If you're new here, please subscribe. We'll be doing some awesome stuff with this pond this summer. And yeah, as always, thanks for watching, and I'll see you guys next time.